Thank you, everybody. Again, if you could please silence your cell phones. And again, don't bring your cell phones up near the microphone, those 6 speakers. And again, we'll start with Greg Barnes, Aaron Beard, C.L. Brown, Adam Smith, Andrew Jones, and Art Chansky. First, let me introduce Chancellor Guskowitz.
Thank you. And as we like to say here in Chapel Hill, it's a great day to be a Tar Heel. Welcome to the Deanie Smith Center as we mark the start of a new era in Carolina men's basketball. Hubert Davis directly connects our storied past with our exciting future. I knew Coach Davis, but it wasn't until this weekend that I really got to know Coach Hubert Davis. Bub and I spent hours with him, and I had an opportunity to hear about his passion, about his integrity, and about his vision. But it wasn't just about his vision for Carolina basketball. It was about his vision for how leading this program, Hubert Davis is going to ensure the success of our student athletes here on campus, and is going to make an incredible connection to the campus community, much like Coach Roy Williams did for many, many years here in Chapel Hill. He's achieved at every level, taken every challenge and beaten the odds, and has established himself as a winner every step along the way. And I'm confident that with this new challenge, he will continue that journey of success. I'm proud to have Coach Davis as the face of Carolina basketball for years to come. Coach Davis's family is with us today. Leslie, Elijah, Gracie, and Micah, and his father, Hubert. Welcome back to the Smith Center. We know that Coach Davis is going to need you for every step along the way. And Coach, you epitomize the best of Carolina basketball. I didn't think it was possible for me to feel more passionate as a Tar Heel, but after talking with you this past weekend, you inspired me. So with that, I can't wait to see what the future holds, and I'm going to pass it off to Bubba Cunningham.
Thank you, Chancellor. And what an honor to talk a little bit today. Well, good afternoon, and thanks for all of you for being here. Today, I want to say a few things before I introduce Coach Hubert Davis. One, I want to talk about the Carolina family. I want to talk about the process that we went through to hire Coach Davis. Say a little bit about college athletics, and then I'll get to Coach Davis and turn it over to him. But I cannot tell you how much I have learned in the last 4 days about the Carolina family. I've learned more in the last 4 days about the strength and bond and relationships and loyalty and commitment of the Carolina family in the last 4 days than I have in the last 10 years. I've talked to more than 20 basketball players, former players, coaches, and to a person, they are selfless, they're value-based. They have a level of integrity and a level of selflessness that I've never seen. I talked to many that were interested in being the head coach. And at the end of the conversation, each and every one of them said, I'd love to be the head coach, but if it's not me, I know you'll do the right thing. And all I want is for Carolina to get the right coach. And we have found the right coach. So I cannot thank the Carolina family for teaching me so many great lessons over the last 10 years, but specifically the last 4 or 5 days. A little bit about the process. I mentioned last week that the chancellor and I were going to do the search ourselves and not have a search firm. And we did not have a search firm, but we weren't the only two that were taking a look at the various candidates. In addition to the two of us, I had 8 members of my staff that also interviewed candidates along the way. And many of the Carolina folks that I've mentioned previously also looked around the country and helped me identify additional candidates, other people that were interested in the job, and allowed us to have a broad view of who would be the right person to lead us right now. And again, we came back to Coach Hubert Davis. We had a number of internal candidates, a number of external. We had a lot of people involved, and we were allowed to do this because of the strength of our Board of Trustees. Richard Stevens, the chairman of the board, was informed along the way, and he gave us the latitude to do a very quick and efficient search, but with the right governance process in place. And I cannot thank he and the entire board for their assistance along the way. A little bit about college athletics. College athletics is really changing right now. Last week, we're in front of the Supreme Court on issues associated with what resources are appropriate for student athletes. We have state laws that are being passed. We have NCAA legislation that's changing daily. We don't know what the future of college athletics looks like, but I do know what the values and principles are at the University of North Carolina. We are based on education. We are based on providing opportunities for students to come to the university, get a degree, and then pursue whatever passion they want. Whether they play professional sports, which we hope every one of our basketball players has that ambition that they play professionally. We want them to have those choices and those opportunities. But we are committed to providing them an educational experience. We're committed to providing educational experiences for all of our students. We're proud of our 28 teams, our 800 student athletes. Every last one of those students, every last one of those teams, and we want to maintain those. We are also proud of winning. We call ourselves the University of National Champions, and that's for a reason. We want to win, and we are committed to winning. And when I started to look at the attributes of what it took to lead this program, given this environment and this set of students that we have on our campuses today, it led me to Coach Hubert Davis. And Hubert has been an assistant coach for 9 years. And I think oftentimes his personality, his passion for this place and for this job have been obscured because of a legendary head coach. But in the last 4 days, that became incredibly evident to me that he is the right person to lead our program right now. And when I think about him personally, I think about his family. And I think about who he is, and he personifies servant leadership. Many of you have heard the stories about Coach when he was a high school player and was under-recruited. And he came to the University of North Carolina not to prove anybody wrong, but to do the very best he could possibly do. And he certainly achieved that. But his servant leadership started at a very young age. Some of you know, some of you don't, but his mother got cancer when he was 15. He drove her to chemotherapy sessions while looking after his sister, who was 6 years younger. His father was working all the time. And so Hubert had enormous responsibilities as a young person. So what has he done since that time between playing at Carolina, playing professionally? What he has done is he has become the best he could be at whatever he was challenged with. He has been an overachiever his entire life. He has always been the best son to his father, Hubert. He has been a best husband to his wife, Leslie. He's been the best father to Elijah, to Gracie, and to Micah. He's the best mentor for our basketball players today, and he will be the best leader for our program well into the future. So it is my distinct pleasure to formally introduce as the new head basketball coach at the University of North Carolina, Hubert Davis.
I told Bubba yesterday that I'm an emotional guy, and that I'm gonna need more than a tissue. I'm gonna need a beach towel, because that's just who I am. First of all, I just wanted to thank Bubba and the Chancellor, and Bubba talked a little bit about it, but I wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity and chance. That's just a big deal to me. I had always wanted to be here at Carolina. You know, growing up, I had always wanted to walk out of that tunnel. I always wanted to put on that uniform, always wanted to play for Coach Smith, always wanted to play on this floor, always wanted to get an education here. I wanted to be a part of this community. I wanted to be a part of this history. Being a part of this program was a big deal to me. My uncle was an All-American here from 74 through 77. And even though that I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C., the first time that I set foot on this campus, it just felt like home. This is where I wanted to go, even from a young age. Bubba touched on it a little bit. My experience in recruiting was a lot different than most of the guys that are currently on the team. I wasn't a McDonald's All-American. Headed into my senior year, I had 2 scholarship offers. One, George Mason, which was coached by Rick Barnes at the time, and George Washington, which was coached by John Custer, who was a former UNC player and a teammate of Uncle Walt. Virginia came in late, and I was interested in playing for Coach Holland and Coach Odom. But where I wanted to go was North Carolina. I remember Coach Smith and Coach Williams coming to my home for an in-home visit. And it was different because Coach Smith in my living room told me and my dad that he thought that I should go to George Mason or George Washington. He didn't think that I was good enough, athletic enough, quick enough to be able to play right away at Carolina. And he felt like, one, if I went to those other places, I would have a better chance to play. And then number two, because of the relationship, the great relationship that he had with my family, he didn't want that jeopardized because I didn't have the same type of experience or success that my uncle had. And I remember at 17 years old telling Coach Smith and Coach Williams, you might be true. You might be right that I can't play at this level, but you wouldn't know for sure unless you gave me a chance, unless you gave me an opportunity. And then I also told them I wanted to come here. This is where I wanted to get my education. This is where I wanted to get my degree. And Coach Smith and Coach Williams left my house and I did not get offered. And I thought my chance and my opportunity wasn't going to happen. And then 2 days later, Coach Smith gave me a call on the phone and he says, I thought a lot about what you said and I'm going to give you that chance and that opportunity. And I committed to Carolina on the spot. And because Coach Smith and Coach Williams gave me that chance and that opportunity to come here, everything significant in my life has happened here. This is where I played basketball. This is where I got better. This is where I went to school and graduated with a criminal justice degree. This is where I met the best friends of my life here. This is where I became a Christian. This is where I fell in love with my wife. This is where I bought my first house. This is where my wife and I got married. And in 2004, when I decided to retire from the NBA, we could have lived anywhere we wanted to in the country. And my wife and I decided to raise our 3 unbelievable, beautiful children here in Chapel Hill. You know, the last 9 years coaching under Coach Williams, it hasn't been a job at all. It's been missionary work. It's been an act of service. And I've been so honored and privileged and appreciative of being able to be in this role and being able to have a front row seat to help these kids out every day, be the best that they can be on the floor, the best in the classroom, and the best off the floor so that whenever they leave here, they're ready to go out into the real world and thrive. 9 years ago, Coach Williams gave me another chance and an opportunity. I was working with ESPN, and out of the blue, Coach Williams asked me to be a part of his staff. I've never told Coach Williams this story. Every time that I played, whether it was high school, college, and the NBA, when I ran out of the tunnel, I always looked for my dad. I just needed to see where he was sitting, and I just needed to make sure that he was in the stands. And the reason being is because irregardless of what happened on the floor, whether I shot the ball well or played well or I didn't play well at all, it was just comforting to me to know that I had at least one person in the stands, irregardless of how I played, he was on my side. That's the way that I felt about Coach Williams. Every time that, and he doesn't know this, every time that he walked through the office, I took a deep breath because I just felt settled because everything was going to be okay because Coach Williams was there. He's the greatest coach that I've ever been around. The time that he was here, he's the best coach for this university. He's the best coach for this team. He's been the best coach for this university and the best coach for this community. And I absolutely love him to death. And I'm so thankful for just giving me a chance and giving me an opportunity. I can't believe that he's here today. I was doing some interviews and somebody told me that Coach Williams was in the office, and I wanted to get all those interviews done because I just needed to go see him. And I just needed to be around him. I just needed to talk to him. I just needed to be around him. Seeing him connects me to Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge, and his presence and his love for this university and this program and what he embodies as a person is something that I have enjoyed and going to miss being around every day. Over the last 3 or 4 days, my phone's been ringing off the hook. There's been a lot of text messages and phone calls and emails, and it's been crazy. But the things that I've really enjoyed, all these text messages and phone calls and emails, they've been so supportive and encouraging. It's just great to have people walk alongside you and just genuinely on your side. I wanted to share one text that I got that immediately brought me to tears, and it was really special to me. Right after Coach Williams had his retirement press conference, one of the first people that texted me was Coach Larry Brown. I played for Coach Larry Brown my last year in the NBA with the Detroit Pistons. And it was the last year that I played in the NBA, and I still felt like that I had some gas in the tank. And he didn't feel that way. And we had a disagreement. I felt like I could still play, and he didn't want to put me in the rotation. And he had every right. He's an unbelievable coach, Hall of Fame career. Towards the middle of the year, I requested to be waived, and I was waived, and I was picked up by the New Jersey Nets, and that's how I finished my NBA career. I had not spoken to him or seen Coach Brown since then, and I just always felt like Coach Brown didn't like me. After Coach Williams did his retirement press conference, he texted me and said, "Hubert, I just wanted to let you know, I would love for you to be the next head coach at the University of North Carolina." And that Coach Smith, the idea of that happening would put a smile on his face. And I just immediately started crying. I gave the phone to my wife and I said, "Read this." And I said, "I thought he didn't like me." And to me, that's just the perfect example of what this place is all about. There's so many people that use catchphrases and different words to describe the togetherness and the closeness of a program. North Carolina is the standard. There's nobody that has family, nobody that's an example of togetherness and family than here at North Carolina. This is the first time that I saw my dad in over a year. Because of COVID, he just didn't feel comfortable leaving home. And I haven't seen him in over a year. When he found out that I was going to be named the head coach of the University of North Carolina, he said, "Hubert Jr., I got my second shot. I got to be there." He's always shown up. He's always shown up for me. He's always shown up for my sister. He was always at my games. He was the person that I looked up in the stands and knew that was genuinely on my side. And at 50 years old, he's showing up today. And that's what this program is going to be about. And it has always been about. We're going to show up. We're going to show up. We're going to show up to shoot around. We're going to show up to practice. North Carolina is going to show up every game, every day, every second, every possession. North Carolina will be there. And so I want to thank Bubba and the Chancellor for giving me this chance and this opportunity. I wanted this job. I've always wanted to be a head coach. I just have always wanted to be a head coach only here. I've always wanted to walk the same road, the same path as Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge and Coach Williams. And I'm so excited and humbled and thankful and appreciative and excited to be able to do it with my own personality and in my own shoes. And I'm just very thankful for everyone. And I'm ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Davis. If we could get Greg Barnes, Aaron Beard, and CL Brown to the mic on the left there, Adam Smith, Andrew Jones, Art Chansky over here. Greg, we'll start with you when you're set. And if after you each ask your questions, please stay put until all 6 have asked so we don't block the TV cameras. Thank you. With that, Greg Barnes, go ahead. On your left, Coach Davis.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask a question about your style of play. The NBA has evolved into a game of layups and three-point shots, in large part due to advanced metrics data. That style of play has filtered.
I played in the NBA.
That's right.
It was a long time ago, but I've been there.
That style of play has started to filter down to the college level. Just curious, what emphasis will you place on advanced metrics when you're designing your schemes offensively and defensively?
Well, I answer it this way. The foundation is set here at Carolina, and it's a foundation that I believe in. It's a foundation that has been tested and tried and proven successful through Coach Smith, Coach Guthridge, and Coach Williams. I've got no desire, I've got no plans of going away from that foundation because I believe in it. I do understand that the game has changed, and we've got to get better next year. Plain and simple, period, the end. The guys, the returning players, and I've talked to them. In order for us to be successful and be able to achieve the team goals that we need and also the individual goals and hopes and dreams that those guys have, this summer is huge for them to significantly get better. We've got to get better with the transfer portal and bring in big-time players that have a vision of wanting to be a part of this program, wanting to be a part of this history, and wanting to be big-time players here on the floor. And so, yes, things have changed, but Carolina has been tested and tried and perfected and been proven successful through all the years. And the way that we will play will be the Carolina way, and it will be successful even now.
On the right, Andrew Jones.
Coach, you've articulated basketball. You've articulated your basketball associations here at North Carolina, but you have pretty extensive, impressive list outside of North Carolina with Coach Riley, Coach Brown, all the people that you dealt with in the NBA. What did you learn from them that is kind of consistent from what you learned here at North Carolina that kind of personifies greatness that you'll take with you and apply toward this job?
Well, that's one of the things I'm very thankful for. You know, obviously that I had the experience of playing here for 4 years under Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge. And the experience on and off the court from them, the 4 years that I was here was invaluable. But I'm very thankful and blessed to have experienced other things as well. You mentioned I played for Pat Riley for 3 years. Can't ask for a better coach. There's so many things in terms of with him, the preparation and the process that you have to have and just to have a chance to be successful. Played for Jeff Van Gundy, played for Don Nelson. I'll tell you one story with Don Nelson. He was my coach with the New York Knicks, and he's also was my coach for the Dallas Mavericks. When he was named the head coach of the New York Knicks, at the time I was a starter. And my first conversation with Don Nelson was, "You never will play for me." He says, "I know you can shoot the basketball, but I need a basketball player." He said, "I don't need anybody that just wants to shoot. I need somebody that can defend, rebound, handle the basketball. I need somebody to come off ball screens. I need somebody to rebound. I need a basketball player. I just don't need a one-dimensional player." said, wow, that's a really nice conversation to your starter in the first conversation. I appreciate that. And he just walked away. And I'm so thankful that he had that conversation with me, because he told me exactly what I needed to hear as opposed to what I wanted to hear. And what happened was I started working on my ball handling. I started thinking about rebounding. I started playing better defense. I started working on my post-up game. I started to become a player. And because of him, the last 4 years that I was in the NBA, I played point guard. And that wouldn't have happened if he didn't challenge me there. I played for Doug Collins. I played for Larry Brown. I played for Rick Carlisle. The players that I played with Patrick Ewing, and John Starks, and Doc Rivers, and Rolando Blackman, and the Dallas Mavericks, the things that I've got to learn playing with Michael Finley and Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. When I was with the Detroit Pistons and also the Washington Wizards, playing with Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups. I finally got a chance to play with Michael instead of going up against him against Chicago. And this experience of being around the greatest player that's ever played the game for 1 year was just absolutely unbelievable. I also look into the experience and the opportunities that I had with ESPN. I had front row seats to be able to sit down and look at different traditions, practices, games, and see how people run their program. And so all those things that I put together has helped me see a vision of where I want to be as a coach. And I draw upon all those experiences.
On the left, Aaron Beard.
Hey, Hubert. I'm curious how you handle, I guess, how you feel about the pressure of walking into a job like this and following a successful coach like Roy Williams has been. It's obviously a place that means so much to you. Do you feel pressure? Do you just feel excitement? What would you describe in that regard?
I don't feel pressure because I'm not comparing myself to anybody. Coach Williams is the greatest. I'm Hubert. And as I said before, the only thing that I need to do is to do this job with my personality and in my shoes. And I've been doing that for 50 years, so I think I can do it some more. I don't have a problem with that. And yes, this job brings pressure. Yes, this job brings anxiety, but I played here. I played 12 years in the NBA, 7 years with ESPN, always on TV on game day, and was 9 years here as an assistant coach. And so all those experiences have prepared me to walk this path with humbleness, excitement, joyfulness, and determination.
Okay, over here on the right, Adam Smith.
Hubert, when you talk about the experiences over the last 9 years here, what sort of mental notes did you take along the way that, you might have thought this could prepare me for this moment? And also, if I can add to that, you talked about feeling settled when Roy walked in the office. What do you think you'll feel with him not being around?
I know where Coach Williams lives. And I know he likes to play golf. So I can find him. I can. There's so many lessons that I learned having a front row seat the last 9 years at being Coach Williams' assistant. People can say things, but it's only really true unless it's backed up by your actions. And over the last 9 years, that's who Coach Williams is. That's who he is. And the way that he has run this program and his love for these kids and love for this university and this program and this community has been such an example to me of how to move forward as head coach. Every decision that is made, for while I was with Coach Williams and in his 33 years, was filtered through what is in the best interest for them. It was never about me. It was always about we for Coach Williams. And to have that type of example, not only spoken, but lived out every day, that's the biggest thing that I can take of many things that'll help me do my job to the best of its ability.
Before CL, you start, the next 6 on that mic will be Brendan Marks, Luke DeCock, Ross Martin, And over here, I'm sorry, Mark Armstrong. Luke, you're over here with JB Ricks and also Noah with DTH. Those are the next 6. CL on the left.
But I have a two-parter for you.
Oh gosh.
It's easy.
Who said that was okay?
You've mentioned being able to put your own personality in the program, as you've also talked about sticking to the foundation of Carolina, what Carolina basketball has been. I was just curious if you already have certain changes in mind, whether it be style of play or anything else that you want to implement. And also, I was curious if you've already assembled the staff that you want.
Well, the first thing in terms of have I thought about things that I would like to tweak or change? I've only had the job for 24 hours. And so it's something that I have thought about at great length. And I'm just really excited. All the guys on the team, or most of them, are back at home right now. And I'm glad that they're back at home. You know, this was a challenging year where they were confined. And it was a difficult year specifically for me. The biggest thing for me is, and one of the things that Coach Smith used to always say is that I can't coach you unless I know you. And I felt like because of COVID and us always being socially distanced, and every time we ate, we had to go back to the hotel room. Every time we practiced, we had to go back to the locker room, to our separate quarters. We weren't able to spend time together. We weren't able to get to know each other. And for the seniors like Garrison and Sterling Manley and Andrew Platek, I've known them over the last 4 years. But for guys like Caleb Love and RJ Davis and Day'Ron Sharp, I didn't feel like I really knew them. And I felt like because we were always distant from each other, that was something that's very important to me. And that was something that was missed. And I can't wait to for them to get back on campus and to give them a hug and meet with them and just be able to spend time with them, whether it's in the office, going to breakfast, lunch, or dinner, having them over our house, for them being around my family. I really do believe in that. You can't coach anybody unless you know them. And I'm looking forward to getting those guys on campus and being able to spend time with them. In terms of the staff, you can't do this job unless you're a Carolina guy. It's impossible. You can't coach here, you can't recruit here, you can't work here unless you have been here, you've experienced it, you have lived it. And so in terms of a staff, it's all guys that have experienced this place and believe it and have the passion and the desire that all of us have for this university and this program and these kids in this community. One of the things that I desperately want to do in terms of a staff is I want to connect the generations. I want to have guys on staff that played for Coach Smith. I want to have guys on staff that played for Coach Guthridge. And I want to have guys on staff that played with Coach Williams. I want to be able to connect all those, because I think bringing all those coaches together is what makes Carolina, Carolina. And so in assembling a staff, that is the number one thing that I'm thinking about. You got to be a Carolina guy. And I want an example from every one of the coaches that have meant so much to me, but has also meant so much to this program.
Or on the right, Art.
Hey, Hubert, congratulations.
Thank you.
I've heard you say a couple of times how much you've learned by your years in Chapel Hill. And one of the things was that you became a Christian. And that I think goes back to Coach Smith being so spiritual. Can you briefly talk about your faith and how that plays into your family and your job now?
Yeah, that's the most important thing to me. You know, my faith and foundation is firmly in my relationship with Jesus. He just is. And my mother was a Christian. And she begged me to go to church growing up. And I didn't want to go. I wasn't interested in it. My mom used to always say that Jesus had a plan for me, plans for a hope in the future, plans not to harm you, plans to prosper you, Jeremiah 29:11. And at the time growing up, I didn't understand it and I didn't listen to it. And when my mom passed away 2 days before my junior year of high school, I grew a tremendous hate towards God. And for the 2 years that I was here at Carolina, the same way. And the reason being is I just couldn't understand all the things that my mom was telling me about Jesus loving me and having a plan and a purpose for me. And I didn't understand any reason why he would take away my mom. I'm 50 years old, and I miss her more now than I did when I was 16 when she passed away. She didn't get to see me run out of that tunnel. She didn't get to see me play here. She didn't get to see me drafted. She didn't get to see me play in the NBA. She didn't meet my wife. She wasn't at our wedding. She hasn't been with my kids. She's not physically here today. And one of the things that Coach Smith used to do was to make all the freshmen go to church. And as I went to church, only because Coach Smith and Coach Guthrie encouraged me to go to church, I started to understand what my mom was talking about. I started to understand the sacrifice that Jesus has made for me and how much he loves me. And 2 days before my junior year of college, I became a Christian. And instead of being upset that Jesus has taken away the most beautiful person in my life, in my mom, I'm thankful every day that he gave me the best mom that I could ever have for 16 years. She's here. She's here. She's here every day. The way I try to treat my wife, she's here every day. The way I try to treat my children. And so my faith in Christ is the foundation of who I am. And when I say that I will walk this path in my own shoes and my personality, my own shoes and my personality is my faith.
We're going to have time for the next round of 6 people plus 1 that I'm taking from online. So if you folks 6 could sit down and bring up Brendan Marks, you'll start over here, Mark Armstrong, Ross Martin over here, Luke DeCock, Noah from the DTH, and JB Ricks over here. I have one question online while they're transitioning. Coach Davis, if you would speak to your feelings of being the first Black head coach at UNC men's basketball, and then have you had an opportunity to speak to Charlie Scott, the first Black scholarship basketball player at UNC?
I have not, and I just, before I came down here, I had a note on my desk saying that he called, and I'm so looking forward to giving him a call and having a conversation with him. It is significant, Steve. It's significant that I'm African American and I'm the head coach here. It's significant. I know that in terms of Division I head coaches all around the country, only 26% of the head coaches for Division I men's basketball are compromised by minorities, specifically African Americans. I know that it is significant that I'm the 4th African American head coach in any sport in the history of the University of North Carolina. I'm very proud to be African American, but I'm also very proud that my wife is white, and I'm very proud that my 3 beautiful, unbelievable kids are a combination of both of us.
Over here on the left, Brendan Marks.
Hey, Coach Davis, congratulations.
Thank you.
You mentioned yesterday on your first interview on ESPN that yesterday was an exciting day, but it was also an emotional day. And I'm just wondering if you can give us a little more insight into the emotional roller coaster you've been on, not just yesterday, but in the past 4 days since Coach Williams' retirement, how you sort of manage the emotions from that day to sitting here now and being introduced as the new head coach.
Well, as I said before, and I think you can tell that I am an emotional guy, and it means something to me because it's about relationships. It's about time spent with one another, and the relationship and the time spent with Coach Williams, not just in this 9 years, the time where he was recruiting me out of high school. I also played for Coach Williams in the World University team in 1991, and he was one of my coaches, and we won a gold medal in Sheffield, England, and on the team was Bobby Hurley. Can you believe it? The Duke and North Carolina guy in the backcourt. He passed the ball to me, so that was good. And it has been emotional from so many different ways of not wanting Coach Williams to retire, to seeing how hard it was for him, to be also excited for him, to be able to spend more time with Mrs. Williams and his children and his grandchildren. It's emotional with the players. As I said before, having a front row seat, just having a chance to help them out every day so that they can be the best, be the best that they can be in the classroom and on the court and in the community is emotional. Thinking about my kids and my wife and how life will change with me taking this position. And where that comes from is relationships. It comes from time spent with each other. And I like that. You know, one of the things that there's two types of celebrations. You know, when a guy hits a shot or does something, there's a celebration where you're trying to get attention. Say, this is me, me, me. And there's also a type of celebration that you just have so much joy and excitement for playing a game that you love. It's just coming out. The first one, I don't condone at all. The second one, you got to have. You have to play with emotion. You have to play with a will and a want to and a careness to be the best that you can be at everything that you can do. You can't take a play off. You can't take a practice off. You can't take a possession off. Your preparation and your process has to be at the top level every day, locked in to put yourself in a position just to possibly succeed. And you can't do that absent of emotion. And that's something that I believe in. And that's something not only do I believe in this role and with this team, this is something that I believe in every part of my life.
Over here on the right, Luke.
When Coach Williams talked to you or approached you about leaving a very good job at ESPN to come back here and become part of the program again, how much was sort of the vision of this day in your mind? Was that all of it or none of it?
Well, you know, I was having breakfast at one of my nice places, having a beautiful breakfast. And then Coach Williams' secretary asked me to come in and meet with Coach Williams. And the only thing that I had on my mind is I thought he wanted me to change the dates of my Christian basketball camp that I had here in the Smith Center over the last 17 years. I wasn't thinking anything else. And when I walked into his office, he says, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great, Coach Williams." I said, "Whatever you need, just let me know." And he says, "Okay, well, I'm going to ask you something." And he goes, "I'd like you to be a part of the staff. I want you to be one of my assistant coaches." And I said, "What?" And I don't remember anything else he said. All I know is I left the office, I went home, I sat at the kitchen table, and my wife said, "What is wrong with you?" And I told her, and we cried there for a couple of hours. And we cried not because we were leaving ESPN or crying because we didn't know what we were getting into. We were crying those were tears of joy and happiness and knowing this is exactly the direction that we needed to go and exactly what we needed to do. You know, I never have, outside of when I was young and wanted to go to the University of North Carolina, outside of that, I've never been a forward thinker from the standpoint of, I always believe that you should have all your focus and attention on where you are as opposed to looking at where you want to go. And so when I was here at Carolina, I never thought about the NBA. All my thoughts, all my attention, all my hard work, all determination was focused on being the best teammate that I can be, being the best basketball player that I could be, and just see how good I could become. That was it. When I was in the NBA, I did not think about ESPN at all. I was thinking for the 12 years in the NBA, how can I be the best basketball player that I can be? How can I get every bit of talent that I can every day at practice and the games? When I was with ESPN, I never thought about being an assistant coach here at North Carolina. I was just trying to be the best TV analyst that I could be and make sure that I showed up every day at work. And so as I was an assistant coach over the last 9 years, I never thought about being a head coach here at University of North Carolina. And when Coach started talking to me about him retiring and his desire and hope for me to want this job, I started thinking about it. And every time that I started thinking about being a head coach of the University of North Carolina, I had a big smile on my face. I was happy, joyful, excited, humbled, and I was ready to go. And so I can't take the smile off my face and how determined and excited and thankful I am to be in this position.
Okay, we have 4 more questions. Ross Martin on the left.
My question's about recruiting. We know you want the best players and the best possible fit for Carolina, but what qualities do you think you bring to the recruiting trail? What changes do you foresee in recruiting and in this era of basketball? And what have you learned over the last 9 years that's going to help you in recruiting moving forward?
Well, one of the things that I think something that is different is my decision to come here to the University of North Carolina is because I wanted to be a part of this program and this history. I wanted to be a part of this place. And I really believe that sometimes kids are making a decision based on where they think it's the best place to serve them. And I'm the exact opposite. Picking a place where that you think that you can serve. I want everybody to have the same experience that I had at Carolina. I did. My experience here was great. But even though that my experience here was great, it wasn't absent of cloudy days, thunderstorms, rainy days. The reason why that I had a great experience in the midst of hard days, challenging days, rainy days, and cloudy days was because I knew that this is the place that I wanted to be. The place that I wanted to be coached, the place that I wanted to be to get better, the place that I wanted to be to grow up, the place that I wanted to be the best person and the best basketball player that I can be. And that's what I want. Everybody, we want talented players. We want big time players that want to play at the highest level, at the highest stage, and this is the place to be. But I also want players that want to be here. So whether you're here 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, unpack your bags and let's get ready to go. Because this place is too special to be thinking about someplace else other than giving your full attention here. And there's a number of kids that will want that chance and would want that opportunity. And I want them here at UNC.
On the right, JB.
Hey, Coach Davis, first and foremost, congratulations on this amazing opportunity. My question was originally taken in regards to you being the first African-American head coach here at the University of Chapel Hill, but I'll ask something, University of North Carolina, forgive me. I'll ask something along those lines as far as how will you embrace that role, when it comes to raising young men in this day and age with everything going on in this country, and what have you learned from Coach Williams when it comes to, teaching these kids to be professionals on and off the court?
Well, Coach Williams has been great. He's always encouraged all of his players to have a voice, have a positive voice, and be able to do it in the right way. And he's always done that. And I've loved it. And I've loved how he's encouraged all the players to do that. I'll give you an example. One of the most outspoken players this past year in terms of social media about race relations has been Garrison Brooks. And I called him into my office and I said, let's sit down and let's talk. And I said, just tell me what you're passionate about. Is it police brutality? Is it systemic racism? what is on your heart? And the thing that he talked about was education equality. He talked about that he first grew up in Lafayette, Alabama, and then he moved to Auburn, Alabama. And the difference in the school systems in Lafayette, Alabama compared to Auburn, Alabama, the resources was much different. And he wanted the kids where he first grew up in Lafayette to have that chance and to have that opportunity from an educational standpoint. So I said, let's think about something proactive that we can do where you can make a difference. And so we talked to compliance, and we said that we couldn't get involved at the high school, but you can in the elementary school. And so his elementary school teacher, still in Lafayette, Alabama, Mrs. Woodrum, needed school supplies. They didn't have enough school supplies to keep everything sanitized and clean. And so every month since the beginning of the season, Garrison Brooks has put together a care package of cleaning supplies and disinfectant wipes and different things to send to his kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Woodrum, just to encourage the kids and just to serve and just to help them out. I've got a number of pictures where they have taken their class pictures with all the kids in front of the care packages. And so Coach Williams' leadership of being able to have a voice and to be able to do it the right way, a helpful way, an encouraging way, has led to Garrison Brooks doing something that has put a smile and has helped somebody and has touched somebody that has been very important in his life. And I encourage that with each one of our players. And not only do I encourage it, I'm going to demand it.
Mark Armstrong on the left.
Hubert, I had a different question, but I was given a hot tip that I need to ask you about Walker Kessler and his status.
Yeah, I want Walker here. He's a Carolina guy. I've enjoyed being one of his coaches last year. He's a wonderful kid. I can't think of anybody better to be around, and unbelievable charismatic personality and somebody that just wants to get better and to work every day. Every day after practice, we spent time together, individual workout, and that's something that I'm so passionate about. I love being on the floor with these guys. I love doing individual workouts. Kids need it, kids want it, and I love it. And our coaching staff will be on the floor with these kids every second of the day trying to make them better. Kessler is a Carolina guy. I had a conversation. I sent him a text last night after everything came out that I was going to be the next head coach, and I have a phone call with him later today. And what I'm going to tell him is I want him back here at Carolina. He's a Tar Heel. He's always a Tar Heel. He needs to come back here, and this is the right place for him. We would love to have Walker Kessler and his family back in Chapel Hill and back at UNC.
Last question on the right, Noah with the DTH.
Hey, Coach Davis. Noah Monroe from the Daily Tar Heel. 2 years ago, I attended a sports journalism camp here, and part of that, you led facilities around the Dean Smith Center, and part of that tour was what used to be Coach Williams' office. My question is, what is it going to be like when you occupy the office of so many of your mentors and your heroes, Coach Williams, Coach Dean Smith, Coach Guthridge?
That's interesting that you asked me that, because I didn't have an argument, but had a disagreement with Coach Williams today. Because as I said before, as I was doing a number of different responsibilities today, and when I heard that Coach Williams was in his office and he was looking at pictures, the reason why I wanted to go in there was because I told him, this is the first thing I told him, leave all the pictures up. This is your office. And I told him this for two reasons. This is his office. This is his home. And I want Coach Williams, I want Mrs. Williams, I want all of his children, and I want his grandchildren. When they come to games, I want them to go into his office. I want them to go home. And I don't want that to change. The second reason is, and it's selfishly, That don't make me think he's still here. And I remember coming back in the summer, and Coach Smith's office was in the basement. And I didn't like that. I wanted him to be in the office. And I don't like the idea of Coach Williams, me being in his office. I want him to come back. I want him to sit in his couches, in his chair. An office is an office. I've had my office for 9 years and I've really enjoyed it. It's beautiful. It's more than what I need. There's a phone in there. There's a desk. There's a couch. There's a TV. Everything that I need is supplied there. And another thing that I need is the presence of Coach Williams around me. It's just something that I want, and it's just something that I need.
Coach Davis, Chancellor, Bubba, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for being here. Appreciate on short notice. Have a good day.